Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at how I built my underground Imperial Airbase. The vision was inspired by the airbase on Aldani that we see in Andor Season 1. Although that base wasn't underground, it still had the vibe I was going for. The first step was to plan out and sort of pre-build the foundation sections. I spent a lot of time preparing all of them. When you do snot technique like this, the dimensions rarely match up perfectly, so you're left with a lot of oddly shaped gaps. You have to get pretty creative when filling them in, because usually they end up being like half a plate wide or some annoying size like that. That's why you see so many oddly shaped panels here. I was just experimenting until I got a combination that worked with minimal gaps left over. The hangar has space for 2 ships, designated by the white markings that I built into the floor. And although they might be unnecessary, the double white arrows were super satisfying to build and even more satisfying to put into place. Lastly, I added lights to each corner of each landing zone. Moving on to the back wall, I used mainly these 1x6x5 bricks with the support beam scaffolding design. Behind them I stuck tiled plates so you can't see through to the other side. This also allowed me to build a rather large wall without using up many of my dark bluish gray bricks. Between those columns I built some of the classic Imperial light panels. They were done by simply stacking dark bluish gray plates and white plates in a pattern. I built slots into the back wall where these light panels can just fit into place using friction, and it's surprisingly solid. There's really no chance for them to fall out. With the back wall done, the hangar is starting to take shape. Next up is the left side wall. On the outside here I'm starting some columns that will run all the way to the ceiling. I'm not really sure what they are, maybe simply another light source, but they are a staple in every Imperial hangar, so I had to include them. Inside, I wanted to have some interior rooms that you'd expect to see in any Imperial base installation. The first floor is just a hallway to reach the stairs, but it looks appropriate to the area. I really didn't want to crowd it and try to make some sort of storage here, and in the end I'm glad I didn't. After adding the stairs, we can start on the second floor, and that's where the fun really begins. After tiling the floor with an interesting design using Nexonite shield tile pieces and building a quick doorway with control panels for access, I started working on the wall design in the room. It's going to be the armory, so I started with a lot of brackets to allow me to add details on the wall later. One technique I would like to point out is the use of the classic storage crate piece in dark bluish gray for the walls. It adds a nice bit of texture without overdoing it. Next I built these sections that will have everything that a stormtrooper needs. There's a clip for binoculars, a hook for their helmet, and a couple blasters on each station. Between each of them is a box of thermal detonators as well. On the far left side wall is a unique assortment of some more specialized weapons. And around the room I added some scattered boxes, a couple of tables, and some rocket launchers. After adding the next flight of stairs, the second floor was complete. I started the third and final floor very similarly to the second floor, and that was intentional. I wanted all the stairs to be above each other like you'd expect to see in real life. Each stairway is also separated from the room by a doorway with control panels for access. Before continuing on the third floor, I had to quickly finish the columns that I mentioned earlier on the hangar-facing side of the wall. Once those were completed, I could move on. The floor here is slightly less interesting than the armory on the floor below, just simple smooth tiles. The interesting part here will be the large window overlooking the hangar. Surprisingly, I've never done one of these classic Star Wars window designs. They're pretty easy to pull off, and take an ordinary boring window to the next level. On the left of the window is a doorway which will lead to a catwalk. It will span the entire hangar. I'll add that in just a minute. In the corner, I added some piping details on the wall. I think it looks nice and fits well in the space. If you didn't guess it already, this room is going to be a control room / command center of sorts. I added a couple stations with control consoles and computer screens. I wanted this room to feel clean and tidy, so I tried not to overdo it. There's still plenty of room for pilots to walk through and exit using the door. And speaking of the door, it's time to add the catwalk. It's a pretty simple design, but it gets the job done. Now that that's in place, we can move to the roof. It was constructed by connecting 19 of these 16x16 Technic plates to create a large platform. These 16x16s are perfect for spanning large areas like this. Even though there's no support under the middle, there is no sagging whatsoever. The final 16x16 square was brick built so that the stairs from below could go up through it. On top I built a simple entrance to the base, with a few details and greebling just to keep it interesting. Starting the terrain on top, I kept it simple. A stone path leads to the base entrance, which I surrounded by some tiled off areas and a few 8x8 grid plates. The rest of the terrain is just plated off with green. I didn't want to do anything crazy here, so it'll just be a grassy area. The pathways are meant to be made from stone, maybe left over from farmers who used to live here. I used lots of different tiles and plates, my favorite being the 2x2 rounded smooth plates. When you lay them rounded side up, you get a really nice look. I added an anti-air turret, a communications tower, a fueling area for a couple of speeder bikes, and of course piles of supplies around the entrance. I also built 2 small defensive positions on either side of the main road leading to the base. One of them is guarded by my custom E-web cannon. And finally, I added all the grass and foliage. In the bottom corner, I added a couple of trees, and everywhere else I just did normal grass. I made sure to leave paths where the stormtroopers were likely to walk, such as near the barricades. And there you have it. Overall, I'm really happy with how this build came out. It's the largest mock I've done in the last few years, so it definitely pushed my LEGO collection to its limits. I'm also happy to say that it pushed me to explore new and creative techniques that I hadn't used before. There's something so satisfying about creating the vision for a build, and then to see it translated from your brain into real space. This build really captured everything I was going for, and I couldn't be happier. Even so, there are a few things I would change if I were to do it all over again. I'd add lighting. I think it would really elevate the interior a lot. I would also try to suspend the catwalk from the ceiling like I had originally planned, and I would try to create some kind of gantry to hang the TIE fighters from the ceiling as well, but the entire hangar would need to be much taller for this. The control room looks great with that large window overlooking the hangar, and the armory is overflowing with weapons and supplies just how I wanted it. I love how all of the stairs are in line with each other and are kind of their own separate area leading to the exit. The TIE Interceptor looks super cool parked in the hangar, and the pilot running to get in is just the cherry on top. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section, and I'll see you on the next one.